Good afternoon, Christian Union Church family. Normally, at this point in time of the service, I would be up, or my wife or Minister White, to bring a message. But today, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to bring to the projection screen, two people that I have listened to extensively in the past years, and they've really helped me grow and develop in my Christian walk. First, person I'm going to bring up is Joyce Meyer and her ministry entitled "Enjoying Everyday Life." Enjoying everyday life, and how I began to listen to Joyce was when I turned 30. I just took an assessment of my life and just to kind of gauge where I was. You know, my wife had given me a nice birthday party, and the next day I just kind of laid there in the bed and I just sat back and thought, am I on track to where I want to be in life? Am I fulfilling my dreams? I mean, is this what life is going to be like for my remainder here on the earth? And and looked at myself spiritually, looked at myself financially, looked at myself physically, looked at myself as far as my relationship with my wife was concerned, and just looked at the overall picture of our immediate family at home. And I wasn't doing very good at all. And now I was under the assumption that I came to the conclusion that this is how life is supposed to be, and then we'll finally get the ultimate joy when we get to heaven. And that just didn't sit well. I wanted more. I knew that I could do better financially. I knew that I could do better spiritually. I knew I could do better in my relationship with my wife. I knew that we could do better as a family. And I wasn't finding these. Now I was in the church, but I wasn't finding the answers to these questions, to these problems in the church. Now that wasn't the church's fault. I said again, it was not the church's fault. The Bible says, "Seek and you shall find; ask and it shall be given unto you; knock and the door shall be opened unto you." And one thing I found out about God, after you get saved, everything else in this thing called abundant life is up to you. If you don't want it, God won't bother you. You still go to heaven, but you'll be miserable down here on earth until you get there, and God won't be mad at you. He won't love you less, but He just won't give you anything that you're not trying to get. Okay, there's a scripture and I taught this once where David in 2 Samuel, David looked around and something was wrong. And the first year David didn't say anything and God didn't say anything. The second year, things were still bad. David didn't say anything and God didn't say anything. Third year, things were bad and David finally said something and God told him what the problem was. And then David went to resolve it. Now, he could have said something the first year. So that's how I came across Joyce Meyer. I began to look outside of my regular routine of just going to church, going to Sunday school, going to Bible class, going to my normal conventions and things of that sort. I began to look outside to see if there was something more I could add to just being saved. And that's how I came across Joyce Meyer. And Joyce Meyer and her ministry, Enjoying Everyday Life, taught me you can enjoy life and have fulfillment down here on the earth as we are waiting to go to heaven. And it changed my whole perspective. I began to strive for a better relationship. I began to strive for better health, and not just pray when I'm sick. I began to ask God to show me how to work things out financially so I can have things and not be buried in debt. And I began to want our family to have more things. I began to want my children to do better, and us to do better as a family. So all I'm saying here is today is that as you're sitting here, just take an assessment as to where you are right now. And is this the best that you're going to be able to offer God, or is this the best you're going to have in life? If not, man, begin to ask God, what can I do to get to the level that Jesus said He came that we might have life and we might have it more abundantly? What can I do to get to that level? So I'm going to bring you Joyce, and then the next person I'm going to bring you on is Joel Osteen. Now, Joyce is going to talk about trusting God when you don't completely understand. Trusting God when you don't completely understand. So here's Joyce Meyer, and I'll be right back.
Tonight I want to talk about trusting God when you don't understand. It's one thing to trust God for something. This room is full of people tonight, and lots of people watching by TV, that you're trusting God for something. You're asking God to change something in your life, to give you something, or to make something go away that's unpleasant. You're trusting God to change somebody else in your life. It's one thing to trust God to give you something or to do something. It's another thing entirely to trust God through something, or to continue trusting God when He's not giving you what you want, when everything around you is shaking and you just do not understand what is going on. I would imagine that we have people here tonight, and lots of them, that you feel like literally everything in your life is shaking right now. Got anybody? All right. Now see, for some of you, it's just a thing here or there, but some of you, I mean, it's like, what is going on? And you just don't understand. But I can tell you from many years of experience, and the only way you really learn how to trust God is through experience, by the way. We all start out wanting to trust God, and the only way we learn how to trust God is by having a reason to have to trust God. And then as we do trust Him, we see His faithfulness, and then little by little, as we journey with God, and our walk with Him is a journey, as we journey with God, we gain experience. Now, the way you trust God now, if you've been born again for 5 years, is nothing compared to the way you'll trust God another 5 years go by, or another 10 years go by, or another 20 years go by. And we will never 100% completely trust until Jesus comes back to get us. But thankfully, we can continue to grow. Trusting God is a decision. And I want to encourage those of you tonight that feel like everything in your life is shaking, that your only real answer is to trust God, and to keep on trusting God, and to keep on trusting God. And yes, it's difficult when you don't understand what's going on, and it's especially difficult when what's going on in your life just does not seem fair. In Hebrews chapter 12, verse 26, which is where we're going to begin, talks about how God shakes things in our life until only those things that cannot be shaken remain. So that means God's going to work with us until we let go of all the unstable things in our life, and we're only hanging on to the rock of our salvation that cannot be moved. Let me give you an example. I like examples. Jesus taught in parables, and I just think we need practical examples. Many years ago, when my ministry was in the very beginning stages, I had a group of, I thought, friends. Have you ever had any people that you thought were friends and then found out they weren't? Do you know people like that are dangerous to you? When you put your confidence in people that really are not who you think they are, it's a constant open door for the devil to work through them to get to you. And so many times in God's mercy, He will remove those people from our lives, and initially we may not understand. It's very difficult when something is stripped out of your life that you're not ready to give up yet. Amen? And so I had this group of women. They helped me in my women's ministry. There was about 12 of them. And I just thought they were my best friends ever. They would never hurt me. They'll always be for me. Well, that's the first mistake. There's nobody on this earth that's breathing that will never hurt you. I don't care how much they love you. As human beings, we do not have the ability to never, ever, ever hurt somebody or disappoint somebody that we're in relationship with. So you're setting yourself up for a lot of pain if you're looking at anybody thinking, you'll never hurt me. I can always depend on you. Don't give that trust to anybody but Jesus. He is the only one that deserves that kind of total, complete, radical trust. And don't ever look at anybody and think, I don't know what I'd do without you. I don't know what I'd do without you. The only one you want to say that to is Jesus. I don't know what I would do without you. And so, long story short, I had a relationship with these ladies for a long time, and we were just having fun. Just having fun, being in, I think, really playing at being in ministry at that point. And I still couldn't even really tell you what happened. I know now that it was God just revealing their weaknesses. Not that I didn't have a bunch of my own, I did, but God was going to promote me to new levels in ministry. He had a plan for my life, and I couldn't take those people with me. Do you know, every place where the bus stops, somebody has to get off. Amen? And so the bus was stopped, and God was ready to take me to my next destination, but there were some people that needed to get off the bus, and I didn't know it. So, long story short, I found out they were talking about me behind my back. I found out that one of them was after my job. I found out that they were telling lies about me. And look at me when I tell you that I was devastated and heartbroken. I couldn't believe it because they were Christians. Now, I had come from worldly relationships where people did that kind of stuff, but these were Christians. So don't even look at your Christian friends and think, you will never hurt me. And it's not even that people are mean, they're just people. They're just fleshly people. And so that's a time when I can remember when, man, was my world shaken. I mean shaken. I did not understand what was going on. The pain in my soul was so deep. But part of the thing that you have to realize is that what you don't understand now, things that you're going through right now that you do not understand, you cannot make any sense out of at all, later on, I promise you, later on, you will look back and say, now I get it. Now I get it. Amen? And please believe me when I say that a lot of the things that you think are terrible, actually in reality, are good. I didn't think I'd get much of a clap on that. And the things that aren't good, God can work for good. But now listen, we're partners with God. He doesn't just work everything out for good. We trust Him, and He works everything out for good. We trust God, and He works everything out for good. So for those of you tonight, either here in the building or watching from home, and you feel like everything in your world is shaking, I understand what you're going through, but I can tell you that many of those things that are shaking are things that you don't really need in your life anyway. They're not stable things, and God's going to give you something that is stable, which is more of Him. Do you know the less of other stuff you have, the more of God there's room for in your life? I remember one time moaning, oh God, I just don't have anybody but you. Poor Joyce, just stuck with God. Isn't that terrible? All right, verse 26. Then at Mount Sinai, His voice shook the earth. But now He has given a promise. Yet once more I will shake and make tremble not only the earth, but also the starry heavens. Now this expression, yet once more, indicates the final removal and transformation of all that can be shaken. That is, what has been created, in order that that which cannot be shaken may remain and continue. I wonder how many people would have the courage to pray sincerely, God, I invite you to shake everything in my life that can be shaken. I didn't see too many hands up, but so that only those things that cannot be shaken remain. How many of you want a better life? You know what? You got to go through to get there.
Okay. I hope you've gotten as much out of that as I did. I mean, you got to be able to trust God when your friends don't understand, when your friends seem like your friends are against you, when you're hurt by your family members, when people on the job are trying to take advantage of you, when you're being shut out of the network. You're not part of the grapevine, so people don't share things with you first. You catch everything on the tail end. You don't understand why. You still got to trust God. Trust God that God, whatever path He has you on. Well, there's a path where you have a lot of friends and things are going your way, and when you have no friends and nothing is going your way, you still have to trust God. Okay. Next, we're going to bring on Joel Osteen. But before I do, I want you to take a look at some of the athleticism of some of our students here at Christian Union. We have some students that are doing good both academically and athletically. And I want you to take a look at the clips I have on them, and I'll come back and bring on Joel Osteen.
Come on, MCC, if you're ready to rock the house, let me hear you make some noise. Hey! Come on, tell the person that God is up to something. Come on, tell him. Hey! God's up to something. God's up to something good. I know. His plan is working. Everything. Say it again. God's up to something.
Okay, so let's support our young people. I'm dedicated this year to supporting our young people, our ushers, our little kids choir, taking them on trips and things of that sort. We're going to really drive it home with our young people this year. God told me, you spend too much time chasing adults. Chase the children. Chase the children. You're going to grow the church by chasing the children. I said, okay, God, however you want me to do it, that's how I'm going to do it. So let's support them, bring them to church, help them with their homework, go to their games, and let's support our young folks, because our young folks do become the adult version of us, of what they see and what they hear from us. Now, Joel Osteen is going to come on. I heard Joel a couple of weeks ago taught on a message that I preached on several times. It was the first time I heard Joel do it. And I said, wow, I got to let the church hear how Joel Osteen presents it. Now, and he followed the same format I did, but just that he just has a way of really, really drawing you into it. And it's the message is regarding the parable of the talents. I call it the 521, the 5-piece, the 2-piece, and the 1-piece snack. God gave each one according to their ability, and then he respected a return on his investment. So here's Joel Osteen, and then I'll be right back.
I want to talk to you today about use it or lose it. God has placed gifts and talents on the inside of each one of us. There is potential in you that you've not yet tapped into. It wasn't designed to come out all at once. You don't become everything you were created to be overnight. These gifts were put in you on a time release. They are destined to open up at certain points throughout your life. You will come into seasons of new growth, seasons of new opportunity, seasons where you discover talent and ability that you didn't know you had. We weren't created to reach one level and get stuck. You may have finished your education, but you haven't finished learning. You may have that position you've always dreamed of. You're satisfied, but that's not your final step. God is not satisfied. He's put more in you. He has new talents, new abilities, even new levels. But sometimes we have talent that is lying dormant on the inside of us because we're not taking time to develop it. We're not being disciplined to study, to grow, to become better. We have talent that's being underutilized because we're comfortable. We don't want to have to stretch and do something out of our routine. We think, oh man, I'm doing good enough, but good enough is not your destiny. Sometimes we're stuck because we're intimidated. We let thoughts of fear and doubt talk us out of it. Things like, you can't take that management position. You can't write that book. You can't lead that class. You're not qualified. You come from the wrong family. All the what if thoughts come. What if you try and fail? What if it doesn't work out? What if you get up there and you're embarrassed? Well, what if you get up there and you succeed? What if you go to a new level? What if you set a new standard for your family? Don't let fear keep you from your destiny. That is a time-release gift trying to come out. Don't miss your season. You look up and another year is gone. Life is flying by. You don't have time to waste being unfocused, intimidated, letting opportunities pass you by. You have to draw that line in the sand and say, that's it. I'm going to get focused. I'm going to be intentional. I'm not going to play it safe my whole life. I'm going to start stretching, taking steps of faith to release these gifts that God has put in me. Paul said in Romans, God has given each person the ability to do certain things well. You have a gift. There's something you're good at. Find out what it is and do it well. Maybe you can sing and you've never had a lesson. You can figure out how things work technically and nobody had to teach you. You can stand up in front of people, lead that class. You don't even think twice about it. It's just who you are. Those are gifts that God has invested in you. Here's the key. God is expecting a return on His investment. Do you have gifts that are being underutilized? You're not taking time to develop them. You're too busy to put forth the extra effort to stretch, to learn, to become better. Or perhaps you can feel that stirring on the inside. You can feel that desire in your spirit. You know you should, but you keep talking yourself out of it, letting it intimidate you. Jesus said in Matthew 25, those who use well what they've been given, even more will be given to them. But to those who are unfaithful, even what little they have will be taken away. If you don't use well what you've been given, if you're not taking time to develop your talents, to maximize your potential, then it can be taken away. But when you use well, you're responsible, you're focused, you're passionate, you study, you grow, you get better. Because you're using well, even more will be given to you. This scripture came from the parable that Jesus told about the talents. There was a man that went on a long journey. He left three of his employees different amounts of talents to take care of while he was gone. A talent back in those days was about $1,000. To one man, he left 5 talents, to another 2 talents, and to the third man, he left 1 talent. Then he went on his journey. The man with the 5 immediately went out and invested those talents. Over time, he gained 5 more. The man with the 2 invested those and gained 2 more. But this third man was afraid. He went out and dug a hole in the ground and buried his talent. Months later, when the owner returned, the man with the 5 talents came and said, "Sir, here are your 5 talents that you gave me, plus 5 more that I gained." The owner said, "Well done. You've been faithful over a little. Now I'm going to give you more." The second man said, "Sir, here are the 2 talents you gave me, plus 2 more that I gained." Owner said the same thing. "Well done. You've been faithful with what I've given you. Now I'm going to give you more." This third man came up, said, "Sir, I was afraid. I didn't want to lose what you gave me. I didn't want to take any risk, so I just buried my talent. Here's the 1 talent that you gave me." This owner, who represents God, could have said, "I understand. You played it safe. At least you didn't lose what I gave you." Instead, the owner was furious. He was so angry, he said, "You lazy man. You should have at least put my money in the bank so I could have earned some interest. Now take from him who has 1 and give it to the man who has 10. You would think, since God is so loving, so merciful, he would have said, "Look at this poor guy. He only has 1 talent. He's afraid, insecure. Go get a few talents from that man that had 10 and give it to him." It was just the opposite. God was showing us this principle. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. If you're always making excuses, waiting for the perfect time to take a step of faith. "Joel, one day I'll get out of my comfort zone. One day I'll step up and teach that class. One day I'll hone my skills." Your one day may never come. Friends, today is your day. Don't put it off another year. Don't live life in neutral, not passionate, not intentional, not focused. Stir up what God's given you. Dare to take those steps of faith. Develop those talents. God is expecting a return from what He's invested in you. I don't know about you, but I don't want anyone getting what should have been mine. I'm not greedy. I love to give, but I don't want God to have to say, "Joel, you're not using that talent, that gift. You're not staying passionate. You're not taking steps to move forward, so I'm going to take what should have been yours and give it to someone that's being a good steward over what I've given them." No, make this decision with me. You're going to stretch. You're going to grow. You're going to pray bold prayers. You're going to dream big dreams. You're not going to live intimidated, letting thoughts of defeat talk you out of it. "Well, you can't do it. You don't have what it takes. This is as good as it gets." No, let that go in one ear and out the other. Keep using what you have, and God will give you more. I want to light a new fire under us today, because we're not always going to be here. The psalmist said, our life is like a mist. We're here one moment, and then we're gone. When you're tempted to be indifferent, to not pursue what you know is in you, you have to remind yourself this principle: if I don't use it, I'm going to lose it. If I'm not giving God a return on His investment, if I'm not being a good steward, then He's going to take what should have been mine and give it to someone else. This is not so that you will live pressured, but so that you will live passionate. So you will stir up gifts that are being underutilized. So you will take steps of faith to become all you were created to be. Here's the key. It's not important how many talents you have. What's important is, are you using what you have? I may have 4, she has 9, he has 3. God has given to every person different talents, different amounts. He's not going to judge us by, did you go as far as your neighbor? Were you as smart as your coworker? Were you as talented as your cousin? None of that matters to God. He didn't say to the man that brought him 2 extra talents, "Boy, I'm disappointed in you. Why didn't you bring me 5 like the first man?" No, he told him, "Well done," just like the first man. What's the point? Don't compare your talents with somebody else. You may have received 3 and they receive 6, that's not up for you to decide. You don't have to keep up with them. Just run your race. Be the best you can be with what God's given you. If you'll be faithful with the 3, God will increase you.
Now, I've taught that message several times, and Joel still brings it out 1,000 times better than I do. But I hadn't heard him preach it before, and when I heard him, I said he followed the same format I did, just that he has a much larger audience, church-wise, and he has a huge worldwide following. But he followed the same format. Listen, when God, I said this before, when God gives you something, He expects something back in return. Somebody owe God. And I preached that before. People were looking at me like I was crazy. I can tell I was turning some people off because they had their head down, like they were preoccupying themselves on the phone. But now you heard from Joel Osteen. God expects something from you when He blesses you with something. He just don't bless you when you go do what you want to do. I try and tell my children that when God gives you a car, a job, gives you favor, He's expecting something in return. And the scripture clearly says, as Joel's taught in Matthew 25, that if you don't use it, God will take it away and give it to the one who's being productive with it. And when I hear people say they used to do this, they used to do that, they used to come to church, they used to be on this ministry or that ministry, I wonder, did God take away something that He had for them to do and they just didn't do it and gave it to somebody else who was doing it? And God told me that you don't have a. He said, Jay, you don't have a big church. You don't have a medium-sized church. You're in the category of the one. You're a small church. But take your small church and produce with it, and I'll continue to give you more. Take what I've blessed you with, small church building, small members, and use that to do all you can do in the church, in relationships, in the community. And be productive with that small church, and I'll give you more. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I've pushed myself to do for the past 12 years, is take anybody and everybody who wants to come over here and in this dangerous neighborhood and sit on wood, and let's be productive for God. And for the most part, we've done it, and we're going to continue to do it. And I always say, I don't want God to take nothing from me that He wants to give to me. I want everything that they just sing a song, what God has for me, it is for me, and I want God to keep giving it to me. So. And I'm looking down here. All right, let's go. Just keep that in mind. Excuse me. No, I'm looking for some some things I need for unbelievable work I was doing downstairs. And you still up here broadcasting? You done already shown Joyce and Joel, and you still talking? You boring, man. People ready to go. I mean, you're wasting tape time. I done been downstairs and produced a whole broadcast on flesh and spirit, and that's what they really want to see. This little boring stuff you got going, man. You're rambling on. I mean, you should have been wrapped up by now. Plus, I was downstairs making a rap song for our wife, Sister Washington. A beautiful rap song, something you don't know nothing about because you're so arrogant, man, and boring. And I was downstairs making her a song. I think she gonna like it. You mind if I play it? Mind if I rap while you sitting there rambling on, wasting up tape time? All right, hey, cut the music on, man. Sister Washington, I think you're gonna like this. I know you got tired of putting up with this boring fella right here, but flesh is taking back over. Spirit don't had his time and it hadn't accomplished anything, so flesh is taking back over. But I wrote this for you. It goes like this: you beat Tasha, Cookie, and Boo Boo Kit, stepping in your high heels and your black Fitbit. Glossy like Michelle, old bossy like Olivia Pope, rocking Michael Kors and slamming nice car doors. I gotta take you from this man, that's my mission. If his love is real, he got to handle competition. He ain't nothing but a chump. They think he knows so much, a little arrogant. But I'll be working out every day thinking about you, looking at them brown eyes in the rear view, catching flashbacks in your eye contact. Wish I could take you on the date to Paris and back. We're a film, a love story called You and I. You'll ice the perfect girl and I'll kill the perfect guy. Hold you in my arms and ease your fears. Ayo, cut. The scene got me shedding them tears. And that's the storyline of me and your wife. I want to thank you for being the lady in my life, sucker. Now, what you think about that? It's going to be sweet. Flesh and Spirit coming 2016 real soon. Get ready for it, y'all. Real soon.